Hello from Student Services. We hope that you are enjoying your virtual Writers Week experience. Writing is a great way to communicate our creativity and ideas to the world. We appreciate all the effort and bravery that go along with the sharing of any art form. In the event that one of these talks brings up some difficult reactions or feelings, feel free to connect with Student Services in one of these ways. Email your counselor, schedule a Zoom with your counselor through Sign Up Genius, call Student Services for any assistance by calling Friends main number or dialing 847-755-2630. For a more immediate concern, an on-call person is available during blocks 1 to 4 on the Zoom link that has been posted to your class Schoology page or scanning this QR code. We would be happy to talk with you in any of these ways. Enjoy the week.
Hi, and welcome to Writers Week 27. Thank you so much to Gina Inc. and Russ Anderson and the Frem Boosters for making this possible. Although we wish we could all be together in the auditorium, and we are missing you there, especially tech crew. We are so glad that we can be here together like this. I'm Sabra Gerber, and I am with the English department, and I am honored today to introduce Adib Khorram, Writers Week alum. In 2019, Adib visited Friend and shared his book, Darius the Great is Not Okay. This is a book which earned multiple awards, including the William C. Morris Debut Award and the Asian Pacific American Award for Young Adult Literature. Since then, he has released his follow-up, Darius the Great Deserves Better. It was just named a Stonewall Book Award honor book. When Adib was at Friend, he spoke about books as windows, about books as sliding glass doors. He shared that when he was a kid, he didn't see himself in books. So he wrote to put himself in there, to fight stereotypes. And he's continued to do that with his books and his characters and by amplifying voices on social media and in his appearances at schools. Those of you who will understandably want more, there's good news. He has a debut picture book coming out in later this month, February 16th, 2021. And I learned via his share on Twitter, he just joined TikTok. So when you are done, if you want to follow him there, you can. I've got his name there for you to follow. So in the spirit of Darius, I invite you to cozy up with a cup of tea if you can, and then enjoy, follow, and hopefully read all things by Adib Khorram. Thank you.
Hello, Friend, Writers Week. You probably recognize me if you were there last year. I was the final, we were just talking about this, my last school visit in the before times was actually with all of you. So it's good to have both of us back, actually. And what we're going to do, since we can't be there for you, we're basically going to record what our conversation would be like anyway, including all of the chaos.
And there will be a lot.
We have not shown either of the other person. We don't know what the questions are, aside from some of the ones that some of you submitted to all of us, which I have folded into my questions for Adib. So I'm going to start interviewing you, Adib. The way this is going to work is I have 11 questions, because 2 of them are students. So, and then I have 10 rapid fire questions, just sort of wrap things up. I'm very excited.
Wow. That sounds so fancy. I realized we didn't like check ahead of time if there's anything we don't want to talk about. So this might in fact be
This is great.
chaotic.
It's awesome. Yeah. I don't think I found something you don't want to talk about. If anything, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm very excited to talk about.
I can't think of anything that I've ever like not wanted to talk about because I love the sound of my own voice.
Well, I don't think either of us are going to ask each other like, what's it like being a diverse person? Like, I don't think that's this at all. So this is great. So, but let's start here, Adib. Adib, hi. First of all, I miss you so much.
I miss you too.
We also saw each other in each of our other's last trip before everything shut down. We were at a writing retreat run by Madcap. So
on the beach in Alabama, which is a strange sentence to construct, but it was beautiful.
But here's the thing: you and I know each other.
Indeed.
But there may be people here at From Writers Week who don't actually know you, who were not there when you were a guest at Writers Week a couple years ago. So in the off chance someone does not know who you are and hasn't read both of your wonderful books, who are you, Adib? And what do you write?
That's a question I've been asking myself a lot lately.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, right? It's chaotic. Also, we're recording this on Inauguration Day, so emotions are very high.
It's weird. It's fair.
Right?
We didn't think that through either. I didn't even think about it till this morning when I was like, well, okay, sure, fine.
I know, right? All the good parts are like, have happened. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Power has been peacefully transitioned.
Yes.
So who am I? I forgot. I am Adib Khorram. I am the author of Darius the Great is Not Okay, and Darius the Great Deserves Better is my most recent. I remember to have one prop, but not both props, but it's fine. You can see in my background. I was born and raised in Kansas City, and I'm a former theater kid. I guess a recovering theater kid, perhaps, who now does writing. I used to also have a day job, which I got laid off from at the beginning of the pandemic. So now I am a full-time writer, which is always something I wanted to be, but kind of wanted to take at my own pace. But here we are.
But there you are.
What was the rest of your question?
I mean,
no, that was it, right?
What do you write?
Oh, yeah.
And what I actually like the question, what do you write, more than what have you written? Because I want you to sort of get into like, here are the books that I've published, but this is who I consider myself as a writer.
Oh, that's so deep. I think I'm still figuring out who I consider myself to be as a writer. I mean, I feel very drawn to the contemporary space, but I also am really excited to explore genre at some point. So far, both of my published novels have been young adult, but my first picture book is coming out in 3 weeks, I guess. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Math is really hard. I'm gay, and don't ask me to do math. And yeah, I really want to explore more age groups and more genres. And I guess I feel like most of my books are probably asking big questions that I have myself about, like identity. I feel like that's a big theme. Now you're making me analyze myself, and I don't like it. That's uncomfortable. I'm not an English teacher. How dare you?
Let's go.
Also, big shout out to all the English teachers for making this happen. This is an incredible event that we're very happy to be part of.
Well, okay, so I don't think I actually know the answer to this question. So I'm also asking it purely for selfish reasons. But you have Darius the Great is Not Okay, Darius the Great Deserves Better. Did you actually conceive of Darius's story being 2 books when you started? Or did that come out after you finished Darius the Great is Not Okay?
Oh, I always meant to write just the one standalone, Darius the Great is Not Okay. And the sequel kind of happened by accident because I wrote a whole other book after the first Darius and sent it off to my agent and waited a while. And then she emailed me and was like, oh, let's talk about it. And so we got on the phone and she's like, before we start, how honest do you want me to be? I was like, I'm a theater kid. I can take it. She's like, these are all like really lovely characters. I had a lot of fun reading. It'd be nice if we could find a plot somewhere. And I was like, what do you think the plot should be? And she's like, I don't know either.
You had a book that was just all vibes.
Yeah, it was just all vibes. So we set that aside until I could find a plot for those characters. And she's like, what else do you have? And around the same time, I had just done actually some school visits with my editor, Dana. And then we did a bookstore event afterward. And one of the members of the audience asked if I was going to write a sequel to Darius. And Dana was in the back row giving me thumbs up. And I had not really thought about writing a sequel, but then I told this story to Molly and she's like, well, maybe you should write a sequel. What would it be about? And I like rattled off kind of the first thing that came to mind. And it was basically like very fully formed and basically became the novel.
Wow.
And like, oh, that actually does sound like a really good idea. Why don't you tinker with that for a while? And so that's how I accidentally wrote a sequel.
I mean,
the other book was crappy.
Do you think you'll ever, well, now I kind of want to know, do you think you'll ever return to that other book? Have you figured out a plot to it yet, or are you just playing in the background?
I think I found a plot that I want to steal those characters and transplant them into a new plot.
Into a new one. I like that. That's very interesting.
Because I really did enjoy them. And I think maybe I finally found the right plot for them.
I mean, but that's a whole thing. Like I am working on my my second middle grade book right now, and it's actually the first book I ever wrote when I was 20. So it took 15, 16 years for me to figure out what to do with it.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
which is pretty great. Also, the
Right?
first, well, now I know why the first one wasn't published, because it wasn't good. Sometimes it takes time. You just have to get
That's
better.
fair.
So I'm curious about how you write and what you do, not just
So am
on a, well, you're like, that's a question I ask myself all the time. I don't just mean like how you write on a day-to-day basis, but I think it's very fascinating your answer to how Darius the Great Deserves Better came about. So how much planning do you do of your writing? Do you like to just sort of throw things on the page and see what happens as you add more subtext and detail and character stuff? Do you write your manuscripts in, for example, in chronological order, or are you someone who sort of tinkers with characters and some sense of plot? How do you go about actually constructing a story?
Every book has been different for me in some ways. The first Darius was written basically completely by the seat of my pants. I kind of had an idea for a character, and more characters just sort of appeared as I needed them. And I very much just kind of wrote it by the seat of my pants. And actually, the same thing kind of with the book that does not exist. But with the second Darius, I actually had a 2-page outline-ish thing that I stuck to pretty closely. And I found it really useful. In the past, when I had outlined, it kind of made me not want to bother writing the thing because I was like, I've already told the story.
Yeah.
But this time it was really useful. And then with the next novel I have coming out in 2022, Kiss and Tell, I had an outline and I very quickly kind of abandoned it because it wasn't doing it for me, and I ended up pantsing it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I feel like different stories need different things, but so far every book I've written, I have started at the beginning and gone in chronological order.
Interesting.
And very rarely do I let myself go back and fix anything until I've reached the end, because I feel like I'll lose momentum. I just have to keep going. And sometimes I'll literally make little notes in the manuscript. Like I introduce a character, comma, who we will know more about in the next draft, comma, and then keep going, which gets very confusing to beta readers sometimes. I was like, no, that's a note for me and for you to know that in the future you'll know more about them.
I do the same thing. I just do, because I'll draft on my little free write, and then I'll put it in Scrivener and just use the side column to be like, okay, Mark, remember to add all of the stuff in the other chapters. So, because the same thing, it's the momentum I feel is really powerful. Where you get that urge to I just want to tell the next part. I can fix this later. Which is not how I was taught to write growing up. Growing up, it was always perfect everything as you go along.
Oh, interesting. I don't know that I remember too much about process stuff from when I was learning to write. I mean, I took 1 semester of creative writing in high school, and that was about it. And then I took the requisite English classes in college.
Well, then, how would you view writing now as a multi-published author? I don't know what the term is. Author who's published more than one book. How do you view writing manuscript now versus when you started? And what sort of craft skills or knowledge do you have now that you sort of wish you had when you started?
It's so weird because on the one hand, I feel like I don't know anything more than I did. Every book is always really hard.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the harder to quantify just kind of experience of, oh, I've had this problem before and I've solved it before. What worked last time? Will that work again this time? And I think more than anything, I have benefited from a really good, strong relationship with my editor, Dana, who's now edited all my books and who is able to get really good work out of me, I think. And when I was a theater kid, I always really admired a director that could get good work out of me. And so I feel kind of the same. Say again, sorry?
It's a creative partnership. And I think a lot of people don't realize how valuable that partnership is, especially when you have an editor who knows you can do better and knows how to just do that nudge, okay, go more in this direction. Why is this whole thing missing? Why aren't you addressing this or whatnot? Like, I love that relationship, that push and pull.
Yeah. And so I really do feel like that's for me the biggest difference is, I know that Dana and Molly, my agent, who's also very insightful, like I know they're both going to have eyes on it. And so in a way, I almost feel a little bit freer to try things. Because I firmly believe that each book I write has to be at least a little bit better than the one before it.
Right.
At least like in my own judgment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do
Sorry,
you
that was a really long-winded way of saying I don't know.
But I like it too. I like thinking of it that way too. So do you, I think about your writing, and it's no secret that I love your books a lot. And also at that retreat that we were at together was reading Darius the Great Deserves Better and crying, and then you came up to me and asked me what I was reading, and I lied and made it. I don't even remember what I told you, but I was just like, oh, it's really emotional, and it was your goddamn book.
Well, I definitely did not register with me at all.
There was one other person at that retreat who knew what I was reading and was in the kitchen when you came up to me and just looked at me with just panic eyes of like, it's all ruined. Anyway. So I find your writing is so raw and vulnerable. And so I have a question for you. Do you see your writing as sort of an act of resistance? Because I think about it, and I think about like how it must feel to know you've carved out this space in young adult fiction. You're now part of the canon, and you've carved out this space that's going to allow writers who are like you, who have had your background, who have similar, cultural traditions as you, who now can point to your book and be like, oh, look, that is able to be published, that is able to be sold. Kids will read it, schools will buy. Like, how do you see your writing in terms of the political and sort of social framework we're in right now?
I feel strange about resistance as a notion, because I feel like resistance requires an opposite force. And I tend to think of my writing and kind of creating in general as building a better world, hopefully, creating new opportunities and spaces. And so I don't usually think of it in terms of opposing something. Though certainly, I guess, deep down, I also do very much hate books like A Separate Piece. And the thing, what we have decided is the canon. And so I think maybe, I'm sure that's always in the back of my mind somewhere. But I also feel like being against something is a really unhealthy place to come from as far as creating. And so I try to resist that very petty impulse that is powerful within me. Just make it gay, John Knowles. Just make it gay. That coward. It's fine. He's dead. I think he's dead.
Right.
I assume he's dead. His book is in the canon, and the canon is all dead white men. So I must assume he is dead.
Yeah, he took
his logic.
Yes. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, friend, there's your homework. Find out if he's dead. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he is. But anyway, so this is a question from one of the lovely Frem students, and I'm actually very excited to talk about this because I can't believe you and I haven't truly bonded over this. We've only sort of talked about it, but I also used to be a theater kid. So on your website bio, I learned that you were a theater kid in high school and even studied theater and film in college. How does this background inform your work as a writer? Do you think of your chapters in terms of scenes or read your dialogue aloud? Do you ever think, actually, and I'll ask the second half of that question in a separate one from that. So we'll start there. How does your theater background inform your writing?
I think in a big way, my theater background not informs my career as a writer every bit as much as it informs my writing itself, because it ingrained the importance of collaboration from a very early point. And so I tend to not be precious about my writing. I learned very early on to kill my darlings and not be sentimental about it. I learned to value good advice, even if it was going to be painful or require a lot of work. And I think I learned about how to savor those moments that are never going to come again. And There's a lot of those in the writing life. And as far as craft, I do think it gave me an appreciation of scene level work.
Mhm.
Especially, I went to film school for a year before I found out film school was a terrible fit for me. Um, but I always remember one of the pieces of advice that really stuck with me. Uh, we were in learning about movie making was that um, if you can find like 2 or 3 really, really spectacular moments for your movie, all you have to do is figure out how to change those 3 bits together, and
Mhm.
people will still love your movie, even if the rest is crap. If you have
Yeah.
like 3 really nice moments, that's what people are going to take away from it. And so, in a way, that let me be a little less of a perfectionist with myself, and just like find those few sublime moments and just figure out how to put them together. And then, as far as dialogue, I do feel like it gave me a good ear for dialogue, and I do always read it. I don't just read my dialogue aloud, I read everything aloud.
Mhm.
When I'm doing usually when I'm doing my first pass pages, which for those who are not familiar, I don't know why you would be familiar with first pass pages if you're not a working author. But basically it's your book, no longer a Word document, but laid out on pages. And I have historically gotten mine as PDFs, but it's like laid out as a book, and I always read it aloud to myself.
I got very lucky because I would think I was in the last round of when Macmillan used to send them in paper. So I got mine mailed to me, and they were these extra long, those like legal size paper, because they had to have the margins that show where the margins were or whatever. But I got to do them by hand. That was the only time. They don't do them. It's all PDFs now. But it was actually, I just felt, I was like, I feel like I'm an important old timey author. This is so cool.
You have to go and get yourself a blue pencil.
I did, absolutely, yeah. Oh, blue for additions and red for things you're changing. Like, it was like this whole thing, and I was just like, I feel so fancy. It's amazing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. You didn't actually define yet. What kind of theater kid were you?
Oh, ultimately I went the path of being a lighting designer. That's what I got my major in. But I did dabble in acting, and I did have I was on my high school's improv team as well, and had a few like really, really good bits that I still think of sometimes. But very much, I was very much a techie, um, kind of a kind of a I don't want to swear. I'm going to swear anyway. Kind of an asshole stage manager vibe for like a lot of it,
Yeah.
until I settled into my aloof lighting designer persona.
Yeah.
How about
Perfect.
you?
Okay. I only did acting.
Oh, okay.
Only acting. I was okay. I was okay at it. I wasn't great. But I mean, you know me, I have a very loud, booming voice, and they love that because they're like, you're one of the only kids who's auditioning who could project to the back of the room. And we had the year before I started high school, they built this like expensive theater, but they forgot to like, or they didn't have something. There was something that was either they forgot to or they didn't have the money, but it didn't have a good sound system in it, so they just needed people to project. So I didn't audition for anything until my junior year, and then I got a bunch of bit parts, and then I was tried out for the spring musical my senior year, and ended up getting the lead.
What
And
was a musical? Tell me everything.
I was Harold Hill from The Music Man, which is
Oh, I'm so sorry. I hate
yeah,
Music Man
it's
so much.
notoriously one of the most difficult roles ever, because Harold is in every scene but like 3, and has 2 of the most difficult songs. Like I will hear like 1 or 2 seconds of trouble and immediately have like go into a PTSD fugue state of I can't. Oh my god! It was stress. It was a lot, and it just burned me out. Like it was so much work in such a little span of. Well, let's add another level to it. There was a protest because a bunch of kids were mad that I got cast as Harold Hill because they said Harold Hill should be white. And I was like, our school is like 75% lit. There aren't enough of you to be in this play. Like, so one of us was going to have to be brown or black. Like, it's just how it worked out. So it was just this whole thing where I thought that was the path I was going to be on. And then my experiences were like, I can't deal with this. I think I'd rather just write. So I stuck to writing.
Speaking of protests, my high school got protested by the Westboro Baptist Church because we did the Laramie Project.
Oh, look at that!
Right? The kids were standing on American flags on the side of the road, having passersby toss like empty soda cans out the car window at them. It
Look at
was definitely a
Formative
vibe.
experience. Beautiful. Okay. I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
We're gonna do rapid fire, but these are doozy
Okay.
questions. So
I'll gird up
you
my loins.
mentioned this earlier, and now I'm so excited for you to actually talk about it. But I know that you personally love a whole lot of science fiction, actually just in the speculative fiction umbrella. So do you ever think you will write a speculative fiction novel of some sort? And what sort of under the speculative fiction umbrella, where do you think you might go first?
Ooh, full disclosure, I have written speculative stuff before. It was just very bad.
Okay.
I did I one time did this like steampunk ancient Greece vibe type thing. It was a dumpster fire. I also wrote like a dystopian cyclet mashup at one point.
Okay. That's
Like
a
Star Wars meets the Hunger Games. It was a mess. It was a mess. I do. I think, given how much I very much love Star Trek, I suspect I'm going to find sci-fi easier to kind of dip my toes into. Um, Actually, that being said, I do have a paranormal romance short story in an anthology coming out in 2022. So I guess one could argue that that's my first like published genre fiction.
well, that's interesting.
Which is funny because I don't particularly get a lot out of paranormal romance.
Right.
But I got invited and I was like, oh, I think I have like a really good like nugget of an idea for a short story. Because I feel like the ideas you need for short stories are different than the ideas you need for a novel.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I was
totally.
like, I don't think this is a novel, but this is like the perfect amount of story for a short story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think probably sci-fi, something at least mildly space opera.
Okay.
Is where I would like to go.
Yeah. Do a Star Trek meets Babylon 5, something in there. I know.
Do you see that I have every Babylon 5 teleplay on my shelf right there?
Oh, is that what those are? Oh my God. Is that all 5 or wait, 5 seasons?
All 15 volumes.
Oh my God.
Of J. Michael Straczynski's scripts, plus then the other voices ones written by other people in 3 more volumes.
Incredible.
Yes, all 110 episodes and all 6 movies.
6. There's 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm obsessed with Babylon 5. Yes.
Yeah.
I also really just want to write for.
You were so excited when I started watching Babylon 5 too, and you had to contain yourself because you just wanted to yell about so many things, which now I understand. Like now I get it. Like anyway, okay, we have another student question.
Yes.
We see that you have a new book coming out in 2021 called 7 Special Somethings for Younger Readers. What is it about, and how does the shift in audience affect your writing, editing, and thought process?
That assumes that I have a process, or even that I have thoughts. Brain smooth,
no
head empty. Yeah. 7 Special Somethings is a picture book about Nowruz, the Iranian celebration of New Year, that happens on the spring equinox for the Northern Hemisphere. And it's about a little boy named Kian who is admiring his family's Haftzin, which is a table that has 7 things on it that symbolize the New Year. And he accidentally ruins it and then has to collect a new one with objects around the house that begin with S. Because Haftzin literally just means 7 S's in Farsi. And so it's very cute and funny and has a very mischievous cat in it that the illustrator basically added to every page that I did not anticipate. And as far as like shifting in my process, I mean, there's so many less words in a picture book. And so I had to be really, really careful with my choices. And it took a lot of revision. And especially, I feel like when I'm writing for young adults, it's very easy for me to just kind of instinctually know how to be honest and authentic and not talk down to them.
Mm-hmm.
But because I really feel like it's important to just treat teenagers as adults who just haven't been alive as long yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like with younger kids, sometimes it's harder to remember that they are also fully formed humans, and to treat them just honestly and authentically as well. And so I had to keep reining myself in from being like teachery, and had to keep reminding myself, no, just tell the story. And by reminding myself, I really mean my editor, Dana was telling me, just tell the story.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun though. There's an economy of language that happens when you only have like 250 words
Right. To tell a whole
to
story.
tell a whole story.
Yeah.
But the good news is the illustrator does a lot of the work for you.
Yeah.
Not for you, but like in conjunction with you.
Right.
It's like a really exciting partnership. And so it was really, really fun and a good challenge.
What else is next besides 7 Special Somethings?
So I have that anthology I was talking about. It's called Eternally Yours. It comes out fall 22. And my next novel is called Kiss and Tell, which comes out in spring of 2022. It's about a Canadian boy band, and the main character, Hunter, is the out gay member of it, as he basically goes through a messy breakup where his ex-boyfriend leaks all of their like intimate text messages on Twitter when he's angry that they broke up, and a rebound romance, and really examining like what it means to be queer in the public eye.
Yeah.
And if I'm rambling, it's because I'm in the thick of another round of edits of it, and I can no
Oh,
longer
boy.
see the forest for the trees.
Yeah. I know that.
But I think it's going to be really fun. I wrote a bunch of lyrics for original songs for it. So
Oh my God,
some of
that's
those,
so good.
some of them, some snatches of them are going to be in the book. Oh, sorry, say again.
Music to go along with them? Like, do you have like a
I
general
have
idea
not.
of what's music?
I have not written any chords for them. I have them in my head, but I haven't like figured out what they are. My music theory is very poor. I'm really good at reading tablature and not so good at being like, what chord is this? I mean, I love David Gilmour, who you can see there, and he just plays guitar. He doesn't bother with theory and stuff.
Yeah, which is very comforting because I don't either. I don't know anything about theory. I know, I mean, actually, I bet we both do because we know what things sound good. Like, so we actually know chord progression, why that chord progression sounds good. But if you were like, Mark, play the A minor pentatonic, I'd be like,
oh, I can absolutely play any of the minor pentatonics in all 5 positions because that's literally all David Gilmour does is minor pentatonics. And so,
okay, well, there you go. I don't know.
But if you're like, what notes are in the A minor pentatonic? I'm like, A, B sharp. Like, I'm like,
I know numbers. Like, I know the numbers from a fretboard. Like, that's how I think. I think all the numbers.
Oh yeah.
Which means I have to make a terrible confession to you, which is that I'm gay and I'm really good at math.
That's okay. I'm actually decent at math as well. I like got put in advanced accelerated math classes when I was in high school. And I was like, why are you stressing me out this much? Because I'm also
that's the thing.
I am good at math, but I also am gay and have anxiety. And so it's like,
that's it. And math is stressful. Like, the further you get in math, it never gets easier. I never felt like I understood more of the world. I just felt like I had more things to stress about.
Yeah, it was hard.
All right. Rapid fire, 10 questions, no discussion. You just got to first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
I would apologize for some of these, but it's me.
That's okay.
All right. Number 1, it's real hard. What's the best Star Trek show?
Discovery.
Okay. What was the last type of tea you drank?
I'm drinking jasmine pearls right now.
Drank. You're still drinking. Was the last one?
Oh, okay. Well, what did I have? I had new Anaconda this morning.
I know we said no discussion. I'm breaking the rule. What did you just say?
New Anaconda. It was a single estate tea from the New Anaconda area of Ceylon or Sri Lanka.
Oh my God, I want to try that. Okay, all right. Would you rather fight 1 duck-sized horse or 100 duck-sized horses?
Wait, 1 duck-sized horse or 100 duck-sized horses? Obviously, I will choose the 1 instead of the 100.
I messed that up so bad. 1 duck-sized horse or 1 horse-sized duck? 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
Probably the duck-sized horses.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to remember who I asked that to once, and they were like, "Oh, I'd fight the horse-sized duck," and I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because then when I defeat it, I would be supreme." And I'm like, "That is a very aggressive answer. That terrifies me." Wait, good answer. All right.
I don't know that I would win against a horse-sized duck. Those things are terrifying.
Yeah, I would absolutely lose. Absolutely lose. All right. What was the last television show you watched?
What did I watch? Oh, Legend of Faye.
Okay. I've never heard of that. All right. What is a television show you want everyone in the world to watch?
Star Trek Discovery. Okay.
Who was the last person in your life that you put into one of your works of fiction?
Tessa Gratton.
I love Tessa. Wait, what did you do? Where is she?
She is directing a music video for the boy band.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Would you rather, this one's really evil, I'm sorry. Would you rather never be able to drink tea again or have to copy paste the letter E every time you needed to use it?
I would rather do the copy pasting of the letter E. I would miss tea too much.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you have a nemesis and can you tell us about them?
I do have a nemesis. I guess 3 major ones, and I'm definitely not going to talk about them while we're recording because they're all in the publishing industry.
All right, perfect. I think I know who one of them is. All right, okay. If you aren't, well, this is great because I had a follow-up question in case you didn't say who they were. So if you did not say who your nemesis was, who would make a good nemesis? Like, who would you like to be a nemesis with? Who's like a public figure?
I will say, actually, David Arnold and I have like a fake nemesis relationship going on. David Arnold is a really, really nice guy. But we just like to look at each other and point across the room and say nemesis, and it's good fun. I did once just destroy him in a game of YA themed Jeopardy. It was just a massacre. It was at Y'all Fest in 2018.
Beautiful. All right, and finally, last question. What is your favorite Moira Rose moment? Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so much pressure. I mean, my favorite moment is definitely the fold in the cheese moment. But my favorite quote of all time is when she says, "Careful, John, lest you suffer vertigo from the dizzying heights of your moral ground." And I was like, that just sums up things so perfectly.
It's beautiful.
I just love her so much. I don't think you can see, she's somewhere. I have my Moira Rose Funko Pop.
Oh, beautiful.
And Moira, yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. I know, right?
Thank you, Deeb.
Thank you, Mark.
Journey for you. I hope these were both challenging, existentially challenging, and also an enjoyment. We're gonna hand the reins over to you, and now it's your turn.
I know, right? Are we doing like, are they gonna like stick a commercial break in?
Well, if they are, it's gonna be right here.
I know, right? Congratulations. If there's not a commercial break, we warned you there was going to be chaos.
Exactly, and this is the chaos.
All right,
it's your turn.
Okay, count us in. 5, 4, 3.